Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Notorious Momz, a podcast. Today I have a very special guest, Melody. Please introduce yourself to the people.
Hi, Tanya. Hi, everyone. I'm Melody Diaz. I'm a mom of two little ones, a 1 and 5 year old, my boy and girl.
Mom. Oh. Wow. You said one and
Five.
five?
Yeah.
Wow. So Melody and I used to go to school together. Just giving people a little background. We went to junior high school together. So that's how we know each other.
Yes. Go way
And
back.
Melody came on the show today to talk about her story. And I think that it's a survivor story. And that's what I want her here to share. So I'm gonna let you take it away.
All right. First, I want to say that I want to thank you, Tanya, for allowing me to come on your show. I think a lot of people can take away from this in the fact that you're allowing me to use my voice on
Your
your
voice.
show. Yes,
Yes.
my voice. Silence is a killer. And the topic is domestic violence. And the reason I say silence is a killer is because it's the silence that keeps you trapped. It's the silencing of women and men alike in violent relationships like I was in that end up, taking away your life. You don't know if you're going to make it out. Your voice is silenced. You can't speak up. How dare you speak up? So, in coming on your show today, I am speaking up. I've been
Yes.
silenced for long enough. And in sharing my story, I have been able to help others out who stayed out since I shared my story last year. But sharing it on here is different. It is being broadcasted through your podcast, and I'm
Yes.
grateful for that. So I want to start by saying my story started 6 years ago with, I'm going to make a Harry Potter reference. He who shall not be named.
Right.
Let's just say Lord Voldemort. It started about 6 years ago, but we go back to junior high school, oddly. And I have the two kids with him. And I want to start by saying it was the perfect story. Prince Charming swept me off my feet, took me away from a different dangerous situation. So I thought, here's my knight in shining armor,
Hmm.
as all as they do come all the time. It started off with love bombing, being really concerned, and I'm sharing these red flags with everybody so you can get a sense of what you may have gone through, what you are going through, and what to look for.
Okay, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick just so we can get a quick a definition of love bombing, right? Because some people may not know what that is, and I think
Mhm.
that's really important. So can
Oh,
you
yeah.
just tell my listeners what exactly is love bombing?
Yes, definitely. So, love bombing can come in many different forms. It can be emotional and verbal, and it can actually come in the form of materialistic things as well. It can come in the form of just attention. So, this person who is seeking a relationship with you is going to adore you so much. You're going to be fascinated with how much attention they're pouring onto you. They're going to mirror your characteristics and your loving characteristics so much that you see yourself in them and you think, oh my god, they're actually loving me, they're giving me all this attention, they're actually caring, they're so concerned for me, they're doing all these things for me, they do all these favors for me, they never ask for anything back. And I want to say the love bombing happens during the honeymoon phase, whether you're
Mm.
talking to someone, the beginning of a situationship, beginning of relationship, when you're dating someone, they will seem so perfect to you. And I want to really emphasize on the mirroring effect, because with love bombing, you're really seeing your characteristics that they're copying. That
Mm.
charismatic nature you have, that empathy you show, that loving nature you have, they mimic so well and put it onto you. And you don't know what's happening before your eyes. You're so in love with the fact that they admire you so much. They're putting you on a pedestal during that honeymoon phase. And just as fast as they put you up there, they knock you down.
Right. And it must feel like, wow, like this person feels the same way I feel. And, with that being said, it's like the same things. We like the same things. We share the same things. We have the same ideas. So it all seems so very great at that time because it's
Mhm.
like I remember being in prior relationships, like that has happened to me too. And it was just like in the beginning,
Mhm.
everything was just like, oh my God, this person is so amazing. I'm just so in love, right? Or at
Yes.
least we think that we're in
Yep.
love, right?
Yep.
So go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And I now want to emphasize on the honeymoon phase, because the love bombing happens during that honeymoon phase. You went on 3 dates together now, and you see like he's really holding up. This is who he is. This is his character. This is his nature. But really, you don't see those red flags in the beginning as red flags. We see them as green flags. How
Right.
I saw them in the beginning, I saw the concern and the questioning as genuine, you know, nature to want to take care of me and to look out for me and to protect me, when in fact it was controlling and manipulative. So what I saw as
Mm,
green flags were actually red flags. Who are you talking to? Who's that messaging you? Your phone went off. Who is that? Let me see it. Isn't that the person that you had a problem with, or isn't that the relative you didn't want to speak to? So those green flags of concern are really to control you, and you fall into it so easily because you feel like they just want to protect me. They're just
right.
keeping me secure. This is
Right.
my night. He's making sure no one else is going to hurt me.
Right.
No, what he's doing is beginning the tactic of isolating you from people
Mm,
who could potentially save you. This
mm,
happens, I want to say, in the like after the 3 months of the honeymoon phase is typically
mhm.
how much it lasts. I want to say between 3 and 6 months is
Right.
when the isolation begins.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm that's just like a rough, I would say like a rough estimate, like with
Mm-hmm.
relationships. But that kind of sounds just about right, because anywhere between 3 to 6 months, I would say more towards like the 6 months of knowing someone, you start to really begin to see, things start
Mm-hmm.
to unfold during that time for most people. Some
Yes.
people can hide it a little longer.
Yes. Oh, speaking of hiding it, that mask, right?
Right.
Those red flags are disguised. They're mimicking you. I want to use a word that many people are probably going to be triggered by, like, oh God, here you go. She said the N word. Narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yep.
right. I say that word, and so many people are against it because they're like, you're not a doctor, you're not a psychiatrist. You can't just call someone that. I'm sorry, but there are 7 major traits, 5 to 7 major traits of a narcissist. And you can't just say like, oh, they haven't been diagnosed, you're not a doctor, because narcissists don't go to get diagnosed. They don't
Right.
seek help. They don't
Right.
believe in mental health treatment. They
Right.
mock and ridicule you for mental health treatment. So I want to say that mask, in the 3 to 6 months, you'll notice that mask sliding off. It comes off when you're home alone with them. In front of others, they're that perfect knight in shining armor. They have that mask on. They have to keep that front up that they care for you so much, they know what's best for you. And you'll start to question things. You'll start to question their tactics, the way they control you and want to, use your phone as a tool. It's weaponized against you.
Right.
Hmm.
Now, when in your relationship did you start to feel like this is going somewhere I don't want it to go? Like when did you stop feeling like, oh, he really loves me and he's so concerned about me, to like, wait a minute, like he's trying to isolate me and control me?
Yes. So I want to say that when we first started, it was long distance. I was in Pennsylvania, him in New York. It was very troublesome. There were other parties involved on his end. So, but when we started getting extremely serious, I want to say it was about 5 months in when I would visit to New York, and my phone would get snatched out of my hands. It didn't matter if it was my mom or my dad or a brother, a cousin. He wanted to know specifically what they were saying. And I was like, this is not normal. I mean, I've went through it before, and I was like, but this is a different type. This is a different type of control. And it got to the point during that 5th month where I questioned whether I wanted to even trust him, and swept me off my feet all over again. That love bombing came in right all
Mm,
over again, because
mhm.
when the good moments are happening, they have to think quick on their feet. Like, okay, I gotta reel her back in. How am I gonna reel her back in again?
Right.
So when I started becoming awake and realizing what was really going on, uh, he didn't like that. Me questioning him was me being disobedient and talking back. And a narcissist doesn't like this. They're above you. You're below their pay grade. How dare you question them? If you question why they want to go through your phone or why they want to get into this and that, you're disrespecting them. You're talking back, and you have no right to do so. Like, you should honor them. That's basically your master.
Gotcha.
And when I noticed that, I kind of went off the deep end and went no contact a bit, but we got into it again when he ended the third party communication,
Hmm.
and I moved into New York. And when I was moving to New York, I was given a lot of ultimatums. You can't go visit your family that's 3 hours away, and I want you here. I'm gonna need to know if you do want to visit them. I'll go with. And when I did go finally visit my family again for my father's birthday, I was threatened. My things were going to be put on the street. So this was by the 8th month now, and I realized, okay, this is abuse. I'm being
Right.
abused all over again. What he told me he would never do, which they often promise you, I won't hurt you like they did. I won't do this, things of that sort. So I was hit with a controller on my head, an Xbox Pro controller broke on my head.
That was the first time of physical contact, like physical abuse?
Extreme violence. Prior to that was slapping, pushing, grabbing, a lot of grabbing and squeezing and pushing up against the wall. A lot of intimidation tactics
Mhm.
that people tend to see as not abuse because they only pushed me, they only put me up against the wall. He
Right.
grabbed my face, he didn't hit me.
Right.
Things would get thrown like controllers of that sort. So I saw it as he's not really abusing me. He's just throwing things. He's just pushing me, putting me up against the wall. But when the controller was broke on my head and I was told to pack and leave and things were being broken from my dresser, I was scared and I wanted to leave. I wanted to run really bad. And when I started throwing all of my things in the garbage bags that he gave, I was met with so much anxiety that I was stuck and I didn't know, should I move? If I move again, is he going to strike me again? He's really mad right now. All of this because my phone died while singing happy birthday to my dad.
I think you have a little visitor. Somebody's
Oh,
peeking through.
oh,
That was so
there goes
cute.
your brother. Go, go, go. Go, go, go. That was so sneaky.
She's so
I
cute.
didn't even
I was
notice.
like, "Do I see someone? I think I see a little one
I
back
didn't
there."
even notice. Oh my God.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, please don't apologize. That happens a lot, well, for me
Yeah.
on my show sometimes. Um, okay, so go ahead. So
So
you
I wasn't able to get reached on my phone. My phone had died. We went to Walmart, I got a birthday cake, and while singing happy birthday to my dad, my phone was still charging. He wasn't able to contact me. I must have been screwing every guy over there because I lived there before. I was doing this, I was doing that. You're gonna find your things home. Don't even bother coming home. That
so he was very, like, accusatory of,
oh,
when you weren't in his sight.
mm-hmm. I was
Right.
doing God knows what exactly.
And you were
And
just visiting
my
family.
family got involved and said, "Hey, like we were with her. We went to Walmart to get a birthday cake. We just sang happy birthday. Her phone was dead and charging." Nope, they were covering for me. It led to a lot of it led to my family instantly going, "Okay, he's not the one."
Right.
And this was in 2016. So I want to
Oh,
say my family right from the beginning was like, "No, mm-mm."
right.
But did I heed the warnings? No, we never do. We
No,
never see the people that want to help us as the people that want to help us. We see it as he's the one that's helping me. He's the one that's saving me and cares. We just
right,
had a bad moment. So what
right,
happened after that moment with the broken controller? I got loved bomb again. And that leads to me being trauma bonded, very similar to Stockholm syndrome.
right.
Yeah.
Trauma bonding. Now, you gotta tell the people what that means.
Yes. So trauma bonding is really heavy. It can be in relationships. It can be in friendships. It can be with coworkers. A trauma bond basically happens after an extreme event happens. It can
Mhm.
be emotional trauma, physical trauma. It can be anything of that sort. So, but with the trauma bond comes really great moments after. So you feel, you know what, the good outweighs the bad. But
Mm.
this cycle is nonstop. This cycle does not break. It
Right.
involves love bombing. It involves manipulation. It involves control, and that's why the trauma bond does not stop. You feel connected and tied to this person in so many ways that you feel if you can't get that high from the love bombing, which really, really increases your dopamine and serotonin.
Right.
This is all like there's research studies that show with
Right.
love bombing your dopamine increases, your
Right.
serotonin increases, your
Right.
cortisol levels actually decrease.
Right.
So when you have this chemical reaction in your brain from all that love bombing, and then a really horrible moment happens, you get slapped, choked, something thrown at you, you feel like you're going to take your last breath. When that person resorts back to love bombing you, you feel like, okay, I have my high again. My levels are good again. We're good now. I think we can be good now. We can actually make some change. He's going to change. He promised me he's going to change this time. It's not going to happen again. 3 weeks go by. A month goes by. Not another incident. There may be some verbal abuse in there. Some,
Right, because that's like another thing too. Like
mhm,
most people think that domestic violence is just physical abuse, but
mhm,
it's so much more. You know, it's mental abuse, it's verbal abuse, it's
financial.
it's financial abuse. You know what I mean? It's so many other things that it's not just the hitting, which
No.
makes it so much more worse.
It makes it worse that so many people think that way.
Right.
But I just want to say this, and you probably heard it before: abuse is abuse is abuse.
That's correct. No matter what it is.
Yes. I don't care if the person's just yelling at you and cursing you out, not cursing you out, just yelling at you in your face. That is abuse. The
Right.
person could say, hey, I need your debit card. Your boyfriend is not going to give you back that debit card. You now have no access to your debit card. He knows your checking account information. Your paycheck comes. He now has control of how you're going to pay for your things. And I'm going
Right.
to give you this $20 allowance. Here's $27 for your Metro card. All right, but I got paid. Like, can you give me my card back? No. You need something, you ask for it. And then there are people who don't believe that psychological abuse is real. I want
Right.
to touch on that. Psychological abuse is one of the worst because it creates cognitive dissonance. I'll touch
Mhm.
on that. Cognitive dissonance is when you are not even able to make the simplest of decisions like cooking dinner because these chemical reactions in your brain, maybe you've had some blunt force trauma to your head. It causes such significant physiological changes to your brain. You're now suffering memory fog. You can't focus. You can't make a simple decision of what you're going to order for lunch while you're at work. You don't know where you put your keys down. It affects you in so many ways, cognitive dissonance, and it's from abuse. It doesn't matter if it's short term or long term, from your childhood into adulthood, or just from a relationship you've been in. Cognitive dissonance is very real. It's extremely scary, especially for people who have suffered concussions and other blunt force trauma to their heads or other types of abuse like strangulation, like I have. You have brain damage. Your neurologist can scan you and say, "Hey, your hippocampus has some damage, from this and." That's Salem, by the way.
Hi, Salem.
But yeah, so brain damage has been considered in domestic violence situations. The statistics are very high for people who suffer from PTSD,
Right.
extreme anxiety, panic attacks, uh,
Depression, I'm sure.
depression, exactly, major depressive disorder. Some people come out of domestic violence relationships with bipolar disorder. And the reason
Mhm.
this happens is because of the characteristic traits of your abuser and yours clashing so often. Living
Mm.
with this person so long, whether they're a narcissist or not, not everyone is, you pick up those character traits that they have. You may find yourself using the same characteristic traits in survival mode.
Right.
You're in fight or flight, fawn or freeze.
Right.
And you're using characteristics of your abuser sometimes just to survive. You're unleashing aggression sometimes just to survive.
Right.
So it's very disheartening when that happens to people, and they don't receive the help they think they need because they don't believe they do, or they've been ridiculed so much that they can't.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, man, that's just it's like so much.
It is.
Um so for you, as the years, because you stood in your
Mhm.
relationship for 6 years, what started happening towards the end when you finally figured out like, "Hey, it's time for me to go?" Obviously, the kids were born,
Mhm.
right? You had your first child. How was
Yes.
it after you had your first child versus your second child?
When I had my first child, my daughter Aria, she's 5 now. After I had her, I noticed it getting increasingly more violence,
Mm,
which also statistics show happens after a mother gives birth in a violent relationship. You're not putting all the attention on your significant other. You're now giving more of that attention to the baby.
right.
And I'm not gonna say that men are jealous of their babies, but there's a huge shift in the dynamic of the relationship when a mother is catering to the needs of her baby and
Mhm,
ignoring her own, but not giving time to that domestic partner that you're with.
mhm,
So I want to say for me, it got increasingly more violent. And that's when I started documenting pictures, video, audio, which I plead with everyone who is in that kind of relationship or that kind of situation in with their families at home. Please document. Documenting the abuse, even by taking a picture of your bruises, screenshots of messages, that is extremely important. There were times when my documentation would be deleted from my phone
mm,
while I was sleeping, or he would take my phone and lock himself in the bathroom, go through my files. So I started emailing myself. I set myself up and started educating myself on what he was doing, what I was going with after I gave birth to my daughter. I sought help of a psychiatrist, which was then used against me and thrown in my face. I was then unfit, unstable, and crazy, and I was going through postpartum depression and grieving the loss of my father. So it was a really big hit after I gave birth to my daughter. I only found out I was pregnant 6 weeks after I buried my father.
mm,
So during, that time, I was trying to grieve my dad, but also not lose my baby.
right,
Although I was going through so much with the person I was with, I didn't want to lose my baby.
right.
I just felt that was a huge change in my life, and I felt that was a gift from my father. He had even gave me a name and said that he knew I would have a baby when I had a miscarriage prior, and it was a girl, and it was the name that my father mentioned. I was like, "This is what I'm doing."
Right.
So it was very bad from the beginning of the pregnancy, because of the abuse. My body was really succumbing to it, like
Mhm,
almost giving up, and the
mhm,
pregnancy was really complicated because of that. After having my daughter, I looked for help. I started looking at into Safe Horizon,
mhm.
which the number for that is 1-800-621-HOPE. Safe Horizon created a record for me where they would help me document as well. And this was in 2017 now.
Now, Safe Horizon, is that like a support group, or is it like a agency?
So Safe Horizon is a foundation
Okay.
for women and men and children. It helps you to find a way out. And if you don't think that it's safe enough for you, maybe go over there, please. If you don't think it's safe for you to find a way out, they're able to help you document, get resources, get help in the form of counseling, mental health experts, legal assistance, financial assistance. They try to get you away into a shelter, in boroughs that you are safe in.
Mhm.
It's a huge foundation that they're able to help people get to safety too, which
Gotcha.
is what I used. I was assigned a case manager who is my angel to this day. Her name is Christine, and she's an angel. She gave me my
Shout
wings.
out to Christine.
Shout out to Christine in the Staten Island Family Justice Center, because girl, whew, you have my heart. She gave me the wisdom and the courage, and she woke me up. She lit a fire under me, but it wasn't enough, sadly, to leave then.
Right,
She stuck with
because
me all those years.
because then after, because a lot of people would say, right, because there's so many people that are so judgy, right, and
Yes,
that's like a real,
that statement's coming.
what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's a real thing, right? So
Yes.
then people listening to your story, they're like, okay, you had all these issues, but then you had another baby,
Mm-hmm.
you got pregnant
Why didn't you
again.
leave?
Like,
Why didn't you just leave
why
him?
did you have another baby from this guy that was like abusing you?
Mm-hmm. So I want to say I did have other pregnancies. In 2 years, I was pregnant 4 times before my son. I want to say you don't always have the option of getting pregnant or not when you're with someone like that. You may want to also get pregnant because you think a baby would help the situation. They're going to change. 2 months went by where he didn't touch me, he didn't call me the B word. So it goes back to the trauma bond, it goes back to that cycle. When you have very good times and moments, it could be a month, it could be 2 months, you think, okay, we're on it, we're on the right track, we're back, we're gonna get better, we're healthier now. I asked him if we could go to couples therapy. He said yes, never did it. But when you put these things in your head, that hope can really stretch out a relationship that should have ended. It
Right.
could be dead, but that hope will just, those little sparks that try to ignite the fire, the hope will keep those sparks going on a lighter that needs fluid in it. But that's all you're gonna get. You're just gonna get sparks.
Little flicker.
That is why I stayed. Those sparks, those little
Right.
moments.
Because it was feeling nice, because everything was
Yes,
feeling good, and
I got
then
my highs, my dopamine, my
right.
serotonin, and those good moments. And I'm like, let's stretch this out. We're doing good. Let's go on a family vacation. Let's do this. So
Right, and then people, you know, they always say like relationships are not easy, right? When you're in a
mhm,
relationship, they're not easy. So sometimes there's a lot of people that, and this is just my opinion, but that they stay in these relationships because it's like, people can change, people, they grow, people
mhm,
evolve. And I always say, like, I feel like, um, characteristically, like a person's character is just that, like, that's what they are. And I
yes,
feel like, yes, there is room for growth, maturity, and all these types of things, but it's like that little thing inside of you, right? Like some people are just like naturally aggressive, right? Or
yes,
naturally, just mean, right? Now, that can fluctuate. Let me just say that can fluctuate, right? Because I am an aggressive person, like not by nature, but things make me aggressive, right? And I think we all
yeah,
have that. But it's
all of
like,
us,
you
definitely.
know, to be that way intentionally, it's not a character trait that I
No.
have. But some people, they're just fucked up. Like, and that's just that's just, it's plain and simple. Some
Mm-hmm.
people just don't, I guess, with their own traumas, they say hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
Um But, that was just like my little 2 cents. But okay, so now
Mhm.
you have baby number 2
Right.
and things are great. Things are good. You're feeling good. You're like,
Mhm.
yes, this is going to work. We are going to make it. And
Yeah.
then what happens?
Yeah. So before I had my son, I got to the point where I had already left 6 times, filed police reports, left to family and friends, hid out in their homes weeks at a time. So I left 6 times before I left, for sure, in January 14th, 2022. So those 6 times, each time I was met with a list of, I'll add your name to this. You can go back to school. I'll let you go back to school. I'll let you get your degree. I'll get you a new car. I'll make things easier for you. You need help with finances. We'll set you up with this kind of financial empowerment team, and I'll do this. I'll do that. You won't have to do this anymore. I'll take over for that kind of, the lists were given to me 6 times that I returned back home. The lists that they give you are also why you don't leave for good. You
Right.
look at those lists like, oh, this is feeding my hope. He said that he's going to let me go back to school. He said he's going to let me work full time and I won't have to worry about, the things I was worrying about before. I have
Right.
this,
Right.
and working my full-time job started, before I was even with him. I had transferred jobs from Pennsylvania to New York, got a city job in 2019, kept it, went on maternity leave. But I noticed every time those lists were given, after 2 months, those lists were MIA.
Right.
They were
It's not
just,
even spoken about anymore.
and then I never said that. I never said I would do that. What do you mean go back to school? I know I said that, but how would you do it? Who would take care of the kids? Like if you're working and going to school, who would be with my kids? So it always went back to that. And then obviously I would speak up and argue back. Like, this is why I came back. You said you would make changes. You would go to therapy. We would go to couples counseling, all types of things like that. So when people say, "Oh, but why'd you stay? You chose to stay. You didn't leave him." And, you're saying that he strangled you, beat you, you had all this trauma, but you stayed with him and had more children. When you're in that trauma bond, you almost have no choice. Choice is taken away from you. Your voice is taken away from you.
Right.
Hi, I have another visitor.
So I don't know exactly what the number is, but they say that before domestic violence victims officially
7.
leave, it's seven. Okay, seven times.
Seven
Seven.
times before you officially can leave safely, or 7 times before you get that toe tag and you're in the city morgue.
Right.
As my case manager stated it, I was a walking toe tag, and
Wow.
she referred it to me. She referred to me that way, um, because of how many times I almost died. Between strangulation, blunt force trauma to the head with a blender that left a bleed on my brain, severe concussions, beating to the point where, my head almost fractured but didn't, just severe bruising. When you think about all the times a woman can leave, you have to think about, is she safer if she stays? Is that why she's not going? So when people say, "Oh, but you didn't leave," did she have a choice? Was she going to be safe if she did? It gets more violent and scary. Um, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. You don't have to apologize.
He
I love
wants
it.
to see you. He's like,
This is so cute. He is adorable.
thank you. So, basically, what happens is the woman's not safe after leaving. A little paper with an order of protection, which I have too, criminal and family. What does that really do? Anger them? Get them more, more empowered to do something to you? Because that's what happens most of the time.
Right, because it's just a piece of paper. Like,
Yes.
if they show up at your door, what are you going to do? You're going to flash a piece of paper and say, "Hey, I have an order of protection."
Hmm.
That's not going to save you,
And after
unfortunately.
being in 4 different shelters with my kids from November 2021 to August 4th, 2022, September 4th, 2022, I have to say the shelter system could be better. I have to say the resources are not enough in New York State. It could be much better, and it could be a reason for people to get to safety more often. The
Right.
statistics are just astounding. So I can only imagine what the statistics are with people who are silenced and not speaking up and not getting help, not dialing 911,
Right.
you know?
Well, I must say you look amazing.
Thank
I
you.
am so glad that you were able to get out. Some people are not that lucky.
No.
Um and I'm happy to be able to have this conversation with you because um I'm sure there's like so many people, going through it. I've been through it
Mm,
before. I've had domestic violence in a few of my relationships. That's just a
yeah.
tidbit. Some people don't know that, but I have been in relationships that were really violent and toxic. But here we are, and here you are telling your story as a survivor and not a victim.
Yes.
And I think that's amazing
I want to touch
that
on what you just said, the survivor, not a victim,
yes,
because people are said to have victim mentality when
right.
they speak. Like,
Right.
how dare you speak on your story? How dare you say what I did to you? Why are you telling everyone the truth? You're just a victim. You're acting like a victim. I'm
Right.
a survivor. I'm spreading my story because it's going to save someone else.
Right.
That's how I see it.
Right. And I think that's the point, right? So many people go through so many traumatic things, and they don't speak up for fear of, shame, embarrassment.
Retaliation.
Nobody wants to talk about how they've been hit or abused before,
Mhm.
especially like women. Men too. Men go
Yes.
through domestic violence issues. That's also not really spoken about
No.
because this man walks into a precinct like, I just got beat up by my girlfriend or she just threatened me or whatever.
Mhm.
You know, it's a stigma behind that.
Good on you.
But I want you to share. I think I have the number. I don't know if you have the number to the domestic violence
Yes.
hotline.
I do.
Um, but abuse is not okay. We know this.
No.
Um, if you are going through something like this, please, please reach out to somebody you trust, a stranger, somebody. Talk to somebody because you just never know where you're gonna end up.
I want to say reaching out. I did not reach out. So if you are going through this, any one of you, men, women alike, reach out. It just takes one person, speak up to one person. Reaching out and grabbing that one hand is all you will need. Don't let them silence you. I want to share also the number for Safe Horizon.
Go.
It's 1-800-621-HOPE.
Mhm.
The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233.
Thank you so much, Melody, for sharing your story. I so appreciate you for coming on the show, and I hope that this message touches someone that is listening. So,
I
thank you,
hope
thank
so.
you.
Thank you.
Wait, are you still doing makeup? What's up with that? Because your makeup looks really good. I don't have any makeup on tonight, but yours looks fabulous.
Thank you. This is so simple. Thank you. I'm slowly but surely getting back into it. I got the passion knocked out of me,
Mhm.
literally and figuratively.
But it's coming back. It's coming back.
It's coming back. I used to do wedding makeup and a special occasion, so hopefully I'll really jump back into that because I want to. It's a passion of mine. Thank you.
Good. So maybe next time when we on the show, we could talk about, your makeup and all that good stuff.
Yes, 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 yes. I would love that. Thank you for
Oh,
having me.
thank you so much for being on the show. Have a good night. We'll talk soon.
Yes. Good night.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.